Can you please give a simple explanation of the Dasa Samyojana?
Dasa Samyojana. How to give a simple explanation? I'll try. Yeah? Sakaya Ditti, Vichikicha, Silabhata Paramasa, Kamaraga Patiga, Ruparaga, Aruparaga, Mana, Uttacha, Avijja. These are the 10. Sangyojana means they are fetters or bound. The human progress is not possible because they are bound and tied up. That is called, the fetter is that. So that is Sanyojana are fetters that bind you to samsara. So the first fetter is Sakaya Ditti, that the belief in a soul that is permanent. They all believe that the God created the human being, and then a part of the God is the soul that is still alive in the human being, that is permanent, that it cannot be destroyed. And the life after life, the soul is permanent, but the body decays, and another body gets attached to the soul, but the soul does not decay. And one fine day, when the soul is refined, it becomes one with the Maker, and then it becomes permanent. So that was their idea before the Buddha. But the Buddha disclaimed that and said there is no such soul, there is nothing permanent, everything is anicca. So anyone who understands this anicca, the arising and passing away, the incessant arising and passing away without a stop of all bodily and mental activities, understands that there is no soul that is not impermanent, and that is Sakkaya Ditti. So if any one of you can understand that there can never be something permanent attached to a changing mind and a changing body, so then that is you don't believe in a permanent soul. So that is the giving up of Sakkaya Ditti. Vichikicha, as soon as you give up that, you don't believe in the creation theory, but you have no more Vichikicha or doubt about the Buddha Dhamma. So that is, they already give up the Vichikicha or doubt about the Buddha Dhamma. Then Silabhata Paramasa, such a person will not go behind Silavata. That means those days they believed that by giving a lot of pain and suffering to the body, one can achieve this uh, permanent happiness with the Maker. So they gave all kinds of, they were eating like animals on the ground and lived, and they stood on one foot, and they lived without clothes. Then even the Buddha did that for 6 years and paying penance and starving, that kind of thing. So once the person understands that there is no Sakkaya Ditti and he has no more doubt about the Buddha word, then he gives up Vichikicha and he gives up uh, believing in that kind of ritual. So that is Silabhata Paramasa, not believing in that kind of ritual. Whereas worshipping the Buddha and doing the Bodhi tree, they don't come under that kind of ritual because it is just a mark of respect to the Buddha. So it is not a ritual. Then Sakkaya Ditthi Vicikiccha, Silabbata Paramasa, Kamaraga Patiga. Kamaraga is sensual pleasure. Patiga is anger and hatred. Those who are indulging in sensual pleasure invariably get into patiga, anger and hatred. So, those who give up sensual pleasure gradually, little by little, their anger and revenge and fear and all those things also disappear. So that is Kamaraga Patiga. If they give it up in half, Sotapatti gives up the first three, Sakradagami reduces the strength of Kamaraga Patiga, that is, he goes mildly less and less on Kamaraga, that is, attachment to sensual pleasure, and becoming anger, and gives up anger and hatred. The third stage, the Anagami, he gives up anger, sensual pleasure and anger totally. He never enjoys sensual pleasure. He never gets angry under any circumstance. So that is Anagami. Kama Raga Patiga, he gives up altogether. He gives up sensual pleasure and he gives up anger and hatred. So then there are five others. They are called Uddambhagiya Sangyojana. They are for not for worldly people, but for those who have powers, jhanic powers, and they crave for Rupa Raga, Arupa Raga, Mahana, Uttacha, Avidya. Rupa Raga is Brahma realm, where the body is there, and then they have exquisite happiness in those realms, and then they crave for that. That is called Rupa Raga. Then Arupa Raga, there are the Arupa realms where there is no body but only the mind. And they also crave for that kind of thing. So it's a craving, Rupa Raga, for the Rupa Brahmaloka, and Arupa Raga is for the Arupa Brahmaloka. So that's also a form of craving. I don't think we have much of that because we don't have that kind of jhanic powers to enjoy Rupa Raga and Arupa Raga. Then what we are left with is, once Kama Raga and Patiga are over, then the most difficult to get rid of is Mana, Uttacha, Avidya. That is, Mana is pride and conceit. That is destroyed only at the Arahant level. Mana is so strong, so we can be quite, be very careful that we are always with Mana until we become Arahant. So the Mana is difficult to get rid of. The last three Sangyojana, or the last three fetters, Mana, Uddhacha, is restlessness. Restlessness is so powerful, it is a nivarana, it is an obstruction, and it can totally be get rid of totally only at Arahant level. Until that, we have traces of restlessness. Even if you are Anagami, until you are Arahant, you still have restlessness, Uddhacha, Mana, Uddhacha, and then Avidya is the most difficult. Avidya comes with Tana. Avidya is, Vidya is scientific, Avidya is unscientific, ignorance, and Tana is attachment, and these two are the last to get rid of, Avidya and Tana. So, people like us who are not bent on deep jhanic levels, they have mana, uddhacca, avijja to get rid of, and that comes only with the arahant. But it can be reduced. You can live like an arahant even though you are not. So one has to practice giving up mana, pride and conceit, uddhacca, be mindful at all times. You give up uddhacca, the restlessness. So we have to cultivate mindfulness according to the Satipatthana until such time when you completely get rid of it at the level of the Arahant. But we can get rid of it most of the time by being mindful of your bodily actions and mindful of your thinking. Then you get rid of, especially the mind. When the mind is restless, we have to do this vipassana, the 5 aggregates, understand that these aggregates, the most of the restlessness arises with memory. You think of somebody, and then again and again, if it is a happy thing, then again and again you become entangled, and rupa, vedana, sanya, sankara, vinyana, the 5 aggregates arise. Then you get attached to that rupa, then you have a happy feeling, vedana, then you get sanya, you recognize that, and sankara is you create attachment for good feelings, and vijnana is the memory that comes again and again. So when the memory is playing up like that, we have to go to the 5 aggregates and understand it's only a memory. It is not real. I'm thinking of my daughter or my son. He's not there, but your memory has invented this, and the rupa has come into your memory. So you have to understand that it is anicca, dukkha, anatta. Rupang anicca, dukkha, anatta. Vedana anicca, dukkha, anatta. Sanya anicca, dukkha, anatta. Sankara anicca, dukkha, anatta. Vijnana anicca, dukkha, anatta. So that way we can temporarily get rid of mental states that arise from memory. That is the way you can get rid of the thinking and getting into proliferation of thought. So until you become Arahant, you can use these 5 aggregates to get over restlessness of the mind. And you can tell yourself, it is only a thought, let go. Don't worry, it's not real. It is anicca, it is impermanent, it comes and goes. It is dukkha because you are just imagining something. It does not reference to the body, the person concerned. It is just a memory, give up. So, with wisdom, you can temporarily give up uddhacca or restlessness. And avijja, the only way you can give up is by seeing it again and again and understanding it is not me, I and mine, it is only a thought that comes and goes. It is only a feeling that comes and goes. It is only a perception and recognition that comes and goes. And it's only anger or attachment that comes and goes. They are all arising and passing away at tremendous speed, even faster than the speed of light. So once you understand the anicca of it all, then you give up tanha and avijja. So that way, we can still do it until we become Arahant. So there is a possibility to live like an Arahant until you become one. It is only such a person who will finally become Arahant. Okay, I think the 10 Sangyojana, I think we have covered. Yeah.
For Puthakjana lay people, what should be our top priority? Learning more of the Dhamma, meditation, or developing Sila?
Well, all three are important, but I think the Sila or the practice is the most important. Even if you know the whole of the theory of Dhamma, if you don't practice, it has no significance to your life and character. So the only way you can change your life and character and become towards Sotapatti or becoming a saint is to change your habits and change your according to the Sila, you live the Sila, that is to say, under any circumstance, I will not kill or steal or sexually misconduct or tell lies and slander and harsh speech and frivolous talk. Under any circumstance, I will not take intoxicants that can destroy my sanity. That kind of determination to keep the Sila would be very useful because it's a practical application in daily living that is most important rather than learning the theory of the Dhamma. And what was the other thing that they said? Learning and the theory
meditation.
and
meditation.
Meditation. Meditation is extremely good because it can give you wisdom. Then, for instance, what I explained just now, when you understand the anicca, dukkha, anatta of all the aggregates, you just let go without becoming a victim to your own mind by thinking and thinking of all the things and imagination that comes from memory. So, meditation is most important and Sila is most important. So, even if you know very little of the Dhamma, it's okay if you keep up and with the practice and the Sila and the meditation. Meditation is not just sitting in one place and doing anapanasati. It is really contemplation of the according to the Satipatthana, the Vipassana contemplation, where we see the nature of the body, Kayanupassana, we see the nature of feelings, how they come and go. We see the nature of Chittanupassana, the mind, we always see like seeing the aggregates that arise and pass away and confuse us. And Dhammanupassana is a combination of all these things with knowledge, like knowing the Eightfold Path, knowing the Bojjhanga and all those things. So these are contemplations and they are not mere sitting and watching your thought in the sense, doing jhanic ecstasies, getting jhanic ecstasies. Because once you are in jhana, you get fixed and the mind is not free to contemplate on the aspects of Satipatthana. So we all always understand this, that Buddha speaks of Samma Samadhi and Buddha doesn't talk about Samma Jhana. So the word samadhi could mean contemplation of the satipatthana, the four aspects, so that you develop wisdom and understand the reality of existence, because you see how the body is working, how the feelings are working, how the thoughts are working, how they come and go. They are extremely vulnerable, painful nature, dukkha. Then there are the good feelings come and go, and it is dukkha. Bad feelings are already dukkha. So you see dukkha, anicca, you see the rising and passing away again and again. And dukkha and anatta is the non-self nature. So it is not, it is beyond your comprehension, and it is beyond your control how to get rid of this. So that is anatta. So that way you understand with wisdom anicca, dukkha, anatta by contemplating on the four satipatthana rather than becoming fixed on the jhana. But jhana is good for temporary, because the mind is so unwieldy. Jhana gives you a focused outlook where you become master of the mind. But jhana by itself is not the answer. It is vipassana and the wisdom of vipassana that gives you the exact nature of life and living when you see anicca, dukkha, anatta finally. Okay? Yeah.
Is it right to say sometimes tanha leads us to acts of metta?
No, it is right, because sometimes you have tanha for your child and you do so, you shower him with all the good things. But you wouldn't do it to any other, because you have no tanha for others. You don't have metta for them either. But this metta is because of your tanha. So akusala can give rise to kusala. That is a that is a well-known condition that in the Dhamma. Kusala also can give rise to akusala. For instance, you might say you're going to give a dana, and that is kusala, but you might be disappointed with the people who receive the dana, or you might be disappointed with the food that has got spilled or that has gone bad. So that kusala might raise akusala in you. So often this happens both ways. Kusala can give rise to akusala, and akusala can give rise to kusala. Okay?
Then the next question is meditation. While practicing breath meditation, I became aware of the elements Patavi, Apo, Tejo, Vayo within my body. I started to observe further, observing the saliva in my mouth. Is this kind of observation beneficial to the practice, or should I just get back to my breath as soon as I realize I have
extremely beneficial to the practice. Once you start on Patavi, Apo, Tejo, Vayu, then you come to understand this body by the Patavi, the hard qualities of the body is the same as the hardness outside. The watery element in the body is the same as the water outside, from where we have acquired these things again and again. By way of food, we have acquired the bones and the teeth and muscle and everything, the hardness. By taking liquids, directly from the outside, we have amassed so much apo or water, such a high percentage of water in the body. We have directly acquired it from drinking, from the outside water. Then again, Tejo, the heat that we have is directly from the sun, either by direct heat or even by the breakdown of carbohydrates and producing heat in the body. So the carbohydrates are also manufactured by the plants with the heat, with photosynthesis, so that we are directly having heat from the sun coming to our body. So the heat in sun and the body heat are the same. The water in the body and the water outside is the same. The hardness of the body and the hardness outside is the same. That's where food. Then Patavi, Apo, Teja, Vayu. Then Vayu is the air we have directly by breathing in and breathing out. We are all the time, even in our sleep, we are taking in air from the outside. So the Buddha said, contemplate on this and understand that none of the elements belong to us. They have been all acquired from the outside. So give up this idea of my body. So that is the greatest difficulty we have, especially the Sakkaya Ditthi, thinking that it is my body. When you understand that the four elements are not mine, they have been acquired from the outside, then you give up this idea of my body. How did it become my body? It is all acquired from the outside. So the Buddha said, if the water in my body is mine, then the water in the rivers also is mine. If the heat is mine, then the heat of the sun is also mine. The Buddha said, if the hardness, the bones and everything are mine, then that food that we take outside, they also should be mine. And then the Buddha said, Patavi, Apo, Tejo, Vayu. If the air in my body is mine, then we have to say that the air outside is also mine. So very logically, the Buddha explains to Rahula, the 7-year-old son, and said, don't believe it. None of these elements are yours. They are all acquired from the outside. So give up this idea of me, I, and mine. The body does not belong. And if the body does not belong, how can anything else belong? How can it be my child? How can it be my house? None of it belongs. There is no absolute ownership, except, of course, the conventional ownership, which is built by the law of the world, worldly laws. They are conventional, and because of the convention, we think it is my body and my child and all that. That's because of the registration and so many things that makes us believe this is me, I, and mine. But that kind of contemplation can break down that idea of me, I, and mine. So it is good to stop Anapanasati and do that vipassana as far as such things are possible.
When doing Anapanasati meditation, when thoughts arise, can you please explain what to do to get back to the breath meditation?
Okay. When thoughts arise and disturb your Anapanasati, as I said before, then stop your Anapanasati and put attention to that thought and understand what is this thought that has come. It is your daughter or your son or your car or some such thing. Then understand the five aggregates of that. That's the rupa, the picture that has fallen, that is the memory, rupa, the vedana, the feeling that has arisen as a result of that rupa or that physical body, that image that has come, vedana, sanya, the recognition, sankara, the anger or the attachment, and vijnana is the mano-vijnana. It has come through the mind from memory. Then understand the futility of that there is no real person there, and that you have merely got attached to a memory. You have got merely attached to a rupa that has you have remembered, and then you are imagining, and then you are getting uh, victimized by a foolish notion. It is not there, it is not real. So then you give up that trend of thought altogether and go back to Anapanasati. That is how you get rid of unnecessary thought. Okay?
Could you please explain Sati Sampajanna?
Sati Sampajanya. There are four Sampajanyas. Sartaka Sampajanya, Gochara Sampajanya, Asammo Sartaka Sampajanya, Sappaya Sampajanya, Gochara Sampajanya, and Asamoha Sampajanya. I think I have said it before, but I can quickly tell you again. Sartaka Sampajanya is wisdom. With wisdom, whenever you want to do anything, you have to find out whether it is sartaka. Sartaka means is it of any economic value. Arthakya arthaka vidya. That is economic value. What is the use of my thinking? What is the use of my speaking? What is the use of my doing this? If it has no use for me or others, then is it asartaka? Give up. Give up that thinking, give up that speech, give up that action. That is Sartaka Sampradaya. That is how you apply wisdom to your daily activities. Then Sappaya Sampradaya, Sapa Pinisa. Sappaya means, is my thinking comfortable for me and for others? Is my speech comfortable for me and for others? Is my action comfortable for me and others? If not, give up. So first you see, is it of any use? Then you think, is it comfortable for me? Then that also is done with wisdom. Sampajanya is wisdom. Sappaya Sampajanya, Gochara Sampajanya is understanding whether it is your domain. Do I have any right to think like this? Do I have any right to speak like this? Do I have any right to act like this? It is not my domain, it is not I am trespassing on others. So if it is trespassing, then I say I should not think like that. It's not my business. I should not speak like that. I have no, I am trespassing. I don't have to speak like that. Then stop that speech. Don't trespass on others. Then if you are doing some action that is not relevant to you, it is not your domain, then you are again trespassing on others. So every time you think or speak or act, you are wondering, you are always with wisdom, knowing, well, is it my domain or not? Have I got the right to think like this, the right to speak like this, the right to act like this? If not, you give up. So when you have this wisdom, that is Sarthaka Sampajanya, Sappaya Gochara Sampajanya. Is it your domain? No, it is not my business. I should not put my finger there. And like that, you give up. Then the last thing is asammoha sampajanya. Moha here means really me, I, and mine. So if you are thinking in terms of me, I, and mine, it is moha. Or if you are speaking in terms of me, I, and mine, then also it is moha. Or if you are doing things because I am the one, if I don't do it, nobody can do it. So there is pride, me, I, mine. So wherever pride and conceit and me is saying, you have to give up that kind of thinking. It is my arrogance, it is my pride, it is my selfishness, it is me, I, and mine, so give up. So that way, you are extremely circumspect and clever in handling any situation. Okay, those are the 4 sampajanyas. So you can practice it in daily living. So you withdraw when it is not necessary. You just bow out of the scene and you speak only when it is necessary and you act only when it is necessary. So you don't overdo or underdo. You do exactly the right thing and just that and nothing more, nothing less. So there's metta in that. If you do more, it may mean tanha. If you do less, it may mean metta, because you do the right amount without expecting returns. In tanha, you do more because you expect returns. In metta, you do only what you can afford to do, and then you don't expect returns. Whether they appreciate it or not, it's not your wanting. Okay? Yeah, it is so important because metta is easier to do than the jhana. Because to do jhana and to suppress defilement, you have to be in a world situation, in a lay life is difficult. But metta is very easy, and also it has a social dimension. You can be always kind and generous to people. Metta mano karme, vachi karme, kaya karme. It means your thinking is metta, your speech is metta, your actions are metta. So when you have metta, you don't overdo or underdo, neither do you expect returns. So we will practice metta. We have the short sentence from Karaniya Metta Sutra. Please repeat with me. Uddang ado cha tiriyancha asambadang averang asapatang sabbe satta bhavantu sukhitatta uddang ado cha tiriyancha asambadang averang asapatang sabbe satta bhavantu sukhitatta. So whenever you contemplate or mentally recall this gatha, then your mind becomes free from anger and hatred. Because uddhang above, ado is below, and tiriyanta across the entire universe around. Asambhada, may all living beings be free from pain and suffering. Asambhada, sambhadyak naveva, abhadyak naveva. May all living beings be free from averan, from anger and hatred. May all living beings be free from enmity, enemies. Because people, enemies, they hurt you all the time, but if their friends support you. So we wish that the whole world will be free from pain and suffering. May they be free from anger and hatred. May they be free from enmity. May all living beings be well and happy. Sabbe satta bhavantu sukhitatta. So that meaning is what is important, and we have to repeat it with the meaning again and again 100,000 times until it becomes the habit of the mind. Then your mind is full of metta, and your speech and action will be metta. Loving kindness in speech and action. And also I have to remind that loving kindness meditation is for your own benefit. It doesn't have much effect on others. Because anyway, the meditation cannot be understood by others. They don't know our mind. But sometimes loving kindness in speech and action can be understood by others. So it has some benefit in terms of speech and action, but loving kindness meditation by itself is not known by others. So loving kindness meditation is so important, especially for lay life, and also it keeps down anger and hatred, and along with it, even pride and conceit. So you become humble and generous and kind and going out of the way to help whenever it is necessary, and you know how to bow out of the scene when it is not necessary, and you don't expect returns, and so many good things happen because of the metta. Metta is so important, but jhana is difficult, especially in the lay life. So I would prefer that you go metta. Buddha has said, mettaya bhikkhave ceto vimuktiya. It means metta is the ceto vimukti. Ceto means the mind. Vimukti means the freedom. Metta is the freedom of the mind. Because you have not done anything wrong, and you have not trespassed on anyone, and you are not expecting returns, so you are not a burden on society. So you do good and you have your goodwill, you go out of the way to behave helpful and kind, but that's it, that's a full stop, you don't expect returns. So metta is extremely useful in daily living. Okay, so best thing is to practice it. And the Buddha says, Tittan charan nisinova sayanova, while standing, while walking, nisinova while seated, sayanova while lying down, yavatasya vigata middo means until you fall asleep. Etan satyam aditya, it means adhisthana karanda, take a determination, live with metta every moment of the day. So, metta is so important. So maybe we will repeat it once again. Uttang adocha tiriyancha asambadang averang asapatang sabbe satta bhavantu sukhitatta. Okay?
Sadhu, sadhu, sadhu. Thank you, Bhikkhuni.